Hello. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here for this very special celebration. And anytime we get to celebrate Dan Elswick, it's a special day, but today, even more because it's a formal appreciation. And as I think most people here know, that we're celebrating the investiture of the endowed chair for Dan, the Dana L. and Peggy M. Farnsworth Chair, and we'll talk more about that in the future. What I'd also like to do, if I could, is ask all of the Elswick family members to stand up and be recognized. And as I think most people here know, that our celebration of endowed chairs to our most prestigious and most productive faculty members is a real opportunity for us to celebrate the recipient here tonight, Dan Elswick, also the donors and the families that have made this possible for us to invest these funds and these chairs in the faculty members, but it's also a wonderful celebration of our university. And as we think about the sort of the power of the university always rests in the power of the people that make up the university. And as we start to look at excellence and look at who is teaching our students and our trainees, who is doing the research, the life-changing research and innovation that is changing things in a positive way for our patients, who is championing new ways to care for people clinically. Our faculty who are bequeathed with these endowed funds, these endowed chairs, are really the cream of the cream. It's the best that we have, and based on the bar that we have, that's pretty darn good. And you know, and celebrating Dan tonight, and we're going to have a series of speakers that will talk about different gifts that Dan brings to the table. But I would say, for me personally, the thing that inspires me the most about Dan is Dan has an absolute love for teaching, for educating, for helping facilitate and ensure that we have the kind of training programs in West Virginia where we can retain our best and brightest. Because we know from the Higher Education Policy Commission, our best opportunity to retain our best and brightest in West Virginia is to have them finish their training here. And if people finish their training and whatever sort of level they do, whether it's their residency or their fellowship, which the residency is after medical school, that they become a specialist, or a fellowship, perhaps where they become a subspecialist, that 77% of those graduates will tend to stay in West Virginia. If they leave the state to do their training, only 7% come back. So it is really vital that we have people like Dan who are thinking about how we can create programs that do not only train our best and brightest younger people and trainees, but also how we can retain them. So with that short commentary, I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is Dr. Jim Barry, who's one of my other favorite people in the world. Jim is the chair and professor for the Department of Behavioral Medicine and Psychiatry, and is one of the most heartfelt people that I've had the pleasure to get to meet. And when you look up the words empathy and compassion in the dictionary, you see a picture of Jim Barry. So Jim, come on up, please.
So it's an honor and a privilege to be able to share this moment with Dan. Dan and I go back 23 years. It's been a true privilege of my life to be able to call Dan one of my best friends. We started our residency together, and it was always clear to me early on that Dan was about people and purpose, and he really cares about people. And he also, as a native West Virginian, had committed to improving lives when it comes to behavioral health and just other medical areas in West Virginia. And he's dedicated, truly dedicated his life to doing just that. And I would argue that there is no single person who has done more for behavioral health in West Virginia than Dan Elswick. And basically, if you think about all of the people that Dan has been able to train through his residency program over the last 12, 13 years plus, and the people who have stayed in West Virginia and the people who have been able to learn about rural care, Dan has been at the upper echelon of doing that. And so being able to just expand the workforce, the people who are going to stay here, and the quality of care really has a lot to do with Dan Elswick. And so we should all be very, very proud of that. Proud of Dan that he's been able to become a recognized name across the country in rural education. And this is something that people seek Dan out for when it comes to helping other training programs, helping build programs. He knows what he's doing, and he certainly has been able to implement and make a lot of changes in a lot of different places. The most important thing I think about Dan when I think about education is just how much the guy cares about his trainees. And even to his detriment, I would say, is watching him be able to shepherd along this next generation of healthcare professionals, specifically psychiatrists, and really treat them like they were his own children and care for them and be able to ensure that they're getting their needs met in ways that could also help them be truly equipped to do what they want to do and be able to do it in a way that brings them joy and happiness. And so Dan's the full, complete picture. And just want to say thank you, Dan, for all that you've done for our department, all that you've done for me personally, and all that you've done for the state of West Virginia. So thank you very much.
I'd also like to recognize just for a second, Dr. Jim Stevenson, who really, in many ways, was the creator of the modern department. Our next speaker is someone who every time I see him, it just makes me smile and feel good. So Dr. Dilip Chandran is the medical director of the CRC Outpatient Services in the Department of Behavioral Medicine and Psychiatry. And Dilip has his own sort of fan club going and is someone who just lights up a room when he's in it. So Dilip, please come up and make your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Likewise. It's really hard to follow Dr. Marsh and Dr. Barry, huh? But thank you all so much. And it's a wonderful turnout. And I was just thinking about just all the faces I see out there. It's amazing. And Dan's family. It's been wonderful. But Dr. Stevenson, can't thank you enough for inviting me to come back to the department in 2012. And I got to work with telepsychiatry department. And since then, I've just been really lucky to work with not only the residency, but the students and all our colleagues. And it's been just a wonderful experience. Knowing Dan, his medical knowledge is out of control. Amazing. And no one will disagree with that, but his knowledge for other things, we're all trying to find the one thing that Dan didn't know, He'll say something and we're going back home and we're like, oh man, he knew that too, right? And then his family can attest to that left and right. But Dan, like I said, he's done the residency expansion, and like Dr. Barry said, it's going to be so many people that are going to be impacted by Dan's perseverance and dedication and compassion to teaching and training and just that, faith in people and it's a sacrifice, a lot of time spent on weekends where I'm sure the family could tell you, Dan's still at work doing something for the residency or nationally too, big national name. And when I went to the conferences with Dan, and it's amazing to watch when he goes into the rural arena where everyone knows Dan and all the things he's done to really foster helping people in challenged areas. But yeah, it's been wonderful to work with Dan. He's like a little brother to me, really. We fight and joke. But yeah, so the cool thing is just seeing all the faculty when I first started, and now seeing all the residents that became faculty. What's the count now? It's pretty high, right? How many people that were former residents recently under Dan's tenure that have returned here? And it's such a welcoming family. Who are the ones that did residency under Dan? Yeah, so wow, it's incredible. The Chiefs and I almost went to watch the Jonas Brothers. Yes, it's really fun because Dr. Stevenson really created that family environment back in the day, and that's what really got me to come back. Was I knew there's going to be a family here, and we've maintained that, and it's fun to watch, and we're in great hands with the young leadership of tomorrow. It's going to be wonderful to see how we progress over time. But thank you all so much, and Dan, congratulations! You definitely deserve everything. Thank you.
I also want to make sure that I recognize more specifically Betsy Elswick, who's one of our great faculty in the School of Pharmacy as well. So thank you, Betsy, for all that you do. And Francine Monchuk, who is the person that put all this together tonight. So thank you. I'd next like to invite to the podium Dr. Mark Miller, who is professor and immediate past shareholder of the Dana L. and Peggy M. Farnsworth Endowed Chair of Educational Psychiatry in the Department of Behavioral Medicine and Psychiatry. Mark.
Hi, everyone. It feels like deja vu being up here again, since in 2015 I was the lucky one to receive this honor, and it's been my honor and privilege to serve that role. And it's my job today to pass the baton to the next recipient. I remember Clay Marsh actually stood up here and awarded me the award in 2015. That was back when he had hair. You knew that was going to come up at some point, right? Firstly, I want to thank the family of the Farnsworth family for this award. Dr. Dana Farnsworth was a West Virginian who had a very illustrious career at Harvard as an educator, and he bequeathed his library to our department. And if you've ever been in our library, if one person could read all those books in a lifetime, that's an amazing feat. So he was obviously an educated man, a self-educated man, an educator, and a model for all of us. The family had the good sense to create an endowed chair in his name to, quote unquote, bring it back to West Virginia. The chair, being the excellence in psychiatric education, is hopefully something I've upheld during the 10 years that I've been here at the university. And hopefully a little bit of wisdom is rubbed off on Dan, and I've tried to mentor him as best I can, although I can't take full responsibility. Dan is one of the smartest people I know. Like Dilip said, there isn't much you can ask him that he doesn't know the answer to. And he saved the life of one of my patients. You'll see in the program, many of you maybe don't know this, but he's double boarded in psychiatry and in internal medicine. My wife is an internist, and I know what she went through, and I know what I went through, and I can't imagine doing both. But Dan seems to take it in stride. We became friends over the course of this time here, and we played guitar together, and I would pop into his office to chat. And one day he was reviewing something. I said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, studying for my recredentialing in internal medicine." And of course, he passed with flying colors. So the patient that he saved the life of for me was someone I knew for 20 years who followed me down here to continue treatment. And there was something wrong with him I couldn't put a finger on. I treated him for depression for years, but he was getting weaker and weaker to the point where he couldn't lift his head off the bed. And his family thought he was going to die, and so did I. And I looked at everything I could think of medically, and I couldn't figure out what's going on. I presented the case to Dan, and he said, "Did you check a cortisol?" And I thought, no, maybe I should. Make a long story short, he was very short of cortisol. It ended up having an empty sella syndrome and needed expert endocrine care to nurse him back to his baseline, and he lived for another 15 years after that. So I credit Dan with that, and that's just one example of how smart this guy is. So we're lucky here at West Virginia to have Dan carry on this role. He has welcomed me and helped me. And like Dilip said, I look around at all the faculty that I played a role in educating that are here today, and now I look to them to explain things to me, because that's the way an educator should always be, ready to learn from everyone who has something to teach. So we're lucky here that Dan's here, and like I said, my job is to pass the baton. And Dan, I'd like you to come up here for a second. So,
Is this
so
Subway?
no, it's not a Subway sandwich. But a couple of weeks ago, we had a Halloween contest for who can do the best door decoration. And my favorite one was the one that said, "We're nuts for quality mental health." And with that in mind, the baton that I've brought to pass on to Dan also doubles as a nut roll with the symbolism there. And so I want to pass this baton to you, and I want us to do, that just like the runners, like, oh, you're ahead of me and I'm coming up. That's the way, yeah. So that's the way I want it. Did you get that? Thank you, buddy. It's yours.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The only guy I like from Pitt. So.
So this part of the ceremony is where I get to make some more comments about Dan. So Dan is a professor, and as was just communicated, is the holder of the Dana L. and Peggy M. Farnsworth Endowed Chair of Educational Psychiatry in the Department of Behavioral Medicine and Psychiatry at West Virginia University. Dan is, as was said, an incredibly smart person that has a very versatile brain. And I think that it is to the best interests of the university and to the students that he's directed a lot of his professional focus on the educational frame for the training program here and also for patients that we see here. Dan also serves as the Vice Chair for Education and the Associate Residency Program Director. In 2023, Dan was appointed the Assistant Dean for Academic Initiatives in our Eastern Campus and was really foundational in helping us achieve the very first Department of Internal Medicine certification for having residents that we could attract and were credentialed for in the Eastern Campus, which was an incredible amount of effort and really such an important new opportunity for our Eastern Campus. In 2025, he was named Vice Chair for Education at the Rockefeller Neuroscience Institute, further testimony to the reputation that he's garnered both locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally, and the respect that, that our leadership has for Dan and his capabilities. Dan grew up in Ripley and graduated from the School of Medicine in 2001 and completed a dual residency and as was said, in internal medicine and psychiatry in 2006. He is board certified in internal medicine, psychiatry, addiction medicine, and consultation liaison psychiatry, which he does in his spare time. His wide range of clinical and research interests really reflect his background, but I think even more reflect his persona. He is, I think, fascinated by anything that needs to be solved. He would have been a great detective and could be the star of a CSI show. Maybe there'll be something in his future. But the other thing about Dan, which is really a great combination of skills and assets, is he's incredibly compassionate. He's incredibly service-oriented, and he is someone who gives of himself quite frequently to help the people that he's serving, whether that's students or trainees or patients. And I've really gotten to know that about Dan, which is something that is that balance between really incredible intellect but really incredible empathy is a very, very rare set of skills to have. And he is blessed with those skills, and we are blessed to have him here to help us share that with others. Dan is a national leader, as was mentioned, in the area of medical education for rural and underserved areas. And this is an area of expertise that really does have impact and have reference to not only just West Virginia, but really to many places throughout the country and the world. And in that way, he's really contributing on a global basis. Dan is dedicated to reducing healthcare disparities by growing the medical workforce. He serves on the Accreditation Council for the Graduate Medical Education Review Committee on Psychiatry and advises on rural residency programs for the Health Resources and Service Administration with the Cecil G. Shepp Center at the University of North Carolina. And that is clearly a mouthful, but well done. He has also published many peer-reviewed articles and given many national presentations on graduate education. So as we've seen, Dan is a really gifted doctor. He's a really gifted teacher. And remember, the root word of doctor in Latin means to teach, but he's also even more an incredibly gifted person and father and family member. And it is truly an honor for me to invite him up to the podium to make his comments. So Dan, please.
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming. It's great to have my family and my other family here. So there's so many people. You know, I've been here. I walked, actually not these doors, because the doors used to be about right where my father is sitting right here. And in 1995, for the first time to interview to come to med school here. And 30 years is a long time. That's the difference between 1945 and 1975. And you know, now as we kind of stand on the cusp of how we deal with AI, back then my professors were dealing, how do we deal with things like using PowerPoint to give presentations and things like that. So it's been a lot of change. And being here for so long, I can assure you I've had every emotion anyone can have. As a medical student, the fear, the anxiety, the joys, the celebrations, all those things have been so, kind of galvanizing for my purpose as I've decided that I'm going to serve this mission of this university, which is to take care of this state. One thing that I've never really experienced too much here is loneliness. And that's something that, because of the way this community works, the way that our med school and our departments and our school of pharmacy and our school of nursing and our administration and our hospital take care of one another, sometimes you feel alone. Sometimes you feel like you maybe have a little bit of a different voice than everyone else, or have a contrary way to look at things. But you don't need to be lonely. And I train psychiatry residents to take care of a lot of stuff: schizophrenia, depression, alcoholism, opioid use disorder. But at its core, we have to take care of loneliness. And this country is going through an epidemic of loneliness. And I'm very proud to say that the folks that I helped train, and that Jim before me and Raleigh, and the folks that have really taught us how to be the shining stars for how we teach, are really addressing that. And it's really critical. So again, I'm very honored to help lead that charge, and as the Farnsworth Chair goes forward. And thank you so much, Mark, for giving the context of who Dana Farnsworth is. I'm honored to help with that, but I do want to thank some folks, in particular my family who's here, my son, my wife. Now Betsy's the most amazing person I've ever met. I met her in that area right there at Okie Pattison. So I was acting like a total idiot at a med school talent show, playing guitar, and she thought I was cute for some reason. So, but it's pretty interesting. I can look north, south, east, and west and see my wife. Over here, this is the history of the School of Pharmacy. She is the living embodiment, and she's the one that helped along with her colleagues, really put that together. So please, if you get a minute, please take a look at that. That was just amazing. If you look up here, this is an interesting picture. You see the picture of the health. That's how the health sciences in the original hospital looked before we added the front. And so that's a really neat kind of mid-century representation. That came from a pharmacy in Buchanan that Betsy and her partner in crime, Kevin, went down. And when the pharmacy was closing, because of her relationships, she found that, and it's found a home here versus getting probably thrown in a dumpster in Buchanan, West Virginia. If you look behind you, you'll see actually art from the Jack Nowitz collection and the folks that she helped curate. You see a Steinway piano. Many times when there's been someone that needs to play piano and they don't have someone, or someone forgot to show up, they grab Betsy to play the piano. Now I guess President Benson can do that too if we needed, right? He's pretty, so I'm pretty lucky to have someone that I can just look in this room. This is one of many rooms, and for the longest time, this was the largest building in the state of West Virginia. Is it still? I think it might be, but so just in this one, yeah, so just in this one room, my wife is here, and it's such an important, so I really want to make sure that everyone's aware that I can do the things I do because she puts up with my shit. So thank you guys so much, and what's cool, I can still sometimes play guitar and act like an idiot just sometimes with Philip's supervision. So thank you all. So that's it.
Thank you. Stay up here for a minute. So based on Dan's very wonderful words, we're going to award this chair to Betsy. And no, I'm kidding. We're good. We're good. So we have, in commemoration of every endowed chair, a medallion that we give to the holder of that chair as recognition of the incredible achievement of being awarded an endowed chair. So Dan, I will place this on your head without knocking your glasses off, which is good. And we will also bequeath Dan, this is not the entirety of what he gets, but it is a physical rendition of the chair. And notice it's a rocking chair for both comfort and age. So have a seat. And the chair, as I said before, not only symbolizes the highest academic honor at our university, but the exceptional achievements of the faculty who holds that. And Dan, we are really, really blessed to have you here. We are so delighted to honor you. And in honoring you, we honor the university. And I would like to invite all of the speakers to come up, and also Jim Stevenson to come up and have a picture. And then I want the family to come up next. So the speakers, come on up. Jim, come on up. We'll take a picture. Great. More pictures coming, Owen. Okay, and then I would like to invite the family to come up to take a picture, if you would. Come on. Yeah, and then you guys can take them.
Dad, you want to sit? You come in. You come in. You're right there, Dad.
No, it's okay. I want your mom and him in the front.
We'll have all these pictures available online.
You don't want to be in it. Huh?
Somebody, we want. What's up? What's up?
We'll squeeze somewhere. It's a lot of it.
It's just a small picture with a few people in it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll get.
I haven't talked to them.
We should be on the stairs. But